setting of so much history and adventure. Where will it lead to? Where today new feet are trotting. This is part of a dream, a trip on the edge of time, an unforgettable journey, one that begins now. Brazil, the 18th century. Gold and diamonds taken from the state of Minas Gerais passed through the mountains on troops of burros, finally to end up in Europe. And in the other direction, art and culture coming from the old continent to create a new civilization high in the tops of the mountains. From the coast of Rio de Janeiro, from which the wealth was shipped overseas, to Diamantina, the end of the way from which all this mineral wealth was mined, it was a long journey of some 1,400 kilometers, a journey which would be named the Estrada Real, or Royal Highway. More than 3 centuries passed. The time of gold and diamond mining passed. Along this old highway, powerful cities sprang up together with a host of small towns, mineral bath lodges, and centers of leisure, culture, and other delights. The old Estrada Real was multiplied into dozens, over which today a new kind of wealth is arriving. A wealth which is being discovered the world over, and which here finds the largest, most varied tourist route in all Brazil. To enter by these routes is to go back to a time of magic, where tradition and the modern way of life meet and are mixed together in a harmonious way to receive and marvel visitors. Here on the Estrada Real, some of the most important deposits of architectural treasures from the colonial period are found. Cities such as Ouro Preto and Diamantina in Minas Gerais state, old mining centers for gold and diamonds which merit and have received from UNESCO the title of Humanities Patrimony, or Paraty in the state of Rio de Janeiro, recognized by the National Historical Property Society, and from which great wealth was derived and sent to the courts of Europe. Settlements, such as the town of Congonhas in Minas State, and with its sanctuary, also considered humanities patrimony. Or other small towns and villages along the way, which look as if they had been frozen in the river of time, and where clothing styles from other times are modernized without losing their ancient roots. In these historic centers on the old Estrada Real, the works of engineers, sculptors, and painters from the past continue to live in the monumental churches, through sacred and profane statues, and in streets paved by African slaves yanked forcibly from their distant tribes and villages. Here, the gold nuggets and brilliantly shining stones can be traced on the altars, in the details of the buildings, and in the large public monuments. And the long shadow of the past can be seen and appreciated in dozens of museums that keep the memories of day-to-day colonial life alive in the art, furniture, and craftsmanship of that day. But the Estrada Real is made up of much more than gold and diamonds. Along the way, the traveler will encounter some of the most important mineral water parks in the country. They are parks and fountains that, since the times of the empire, have attracted visitors in search of health-giving rest and quiet time. To travel on Estrada Real is to submerge oneself in the universe of unforgettable landscapes, surrounded by mountains, native forests, great valleys, archaeological sites, rivers, and beautiful waterfalls. It is in this attractive scene that tourists from all over the world discover the most varied options in side trips, sports, and adventure. But to travel by the Estrada Real is to also learn of the faith, traditions, and hospitality of a people who always looked upon the arrival of visitors with a joy equal to that of receiving good news. In the great religious festivities, in the areas where mystical and strange communities choose to meet, in the folkloric festivities, or in daily routines, the residents shared with visitors their histories, their dreams, and their customs. In these cities and towns, art was an integral part of the churches, two-story houses, and public monuments, and is today winning new translation and meaning in the hands of the people. Translating wood, stone, iron, fiber, flowers, leather, and clay into surprising works. The handcrafters create an almost infinite variety of decorative pieces and useful items. The handcraft produced along the Estrada Real, which today is often exported to many countries of the world, doesn't impress and surprise people just for the quality and creativity of the products. But what often astonishes the tourists is to see from raw natural materials appear works that interpret and translate the very soul and joy of an ancient people who are at the same time contemporary. In the colonial cities and in the mineral water parks, in the urban centers and in the rural towns, the Estrada Real holds another surprise for its visitors, mysteries that only reveal themselves at the table among colors, aromas, and flavors. Tables where there never lacks the best homemade cachaça of all Brazil, a type of sugarcane rum that is produced in the whole region, a result of all the influences that make up Brazilian culture. The region's culinary delights are some of the richest and most varied in all Brazil. In the most simple kitchens with wood stoves, or in restaurants up to international category, products from the land are worked and combined in generations-old recipes with the wisdom that comes from the experience of those who are not afraid to try new ideas. After seizing such surprising beauties and adventures, there is nothing like resting in a typical, inviting atmosphere. And the Estrada Real offers tourists a vast variety of options, from the older, most rustic inns to the most deluxe, sophisticated lodgings. Always carrying the mark of a personalized and caring service with which those who visit from other lands are always received. Art and culture, the traditional and contemporary, leisure and adventure, faith, joy, and beauty. The Estrada Real is all this and much more. From a trail carved out by the first adventurers, slaves, and colonizers, to the great tourist route of today, more than 3 centuries of history and civilization await you. A magical, fascinating world. A land blessed with a moderate, agreeable climate throughout the entire year. An incomparable set of attractions. And a people who unite the sea with the mountains to be at the same time provincial and universal.